Episode 7 of Wasteland Weaponistics. This episode is about the combat shotguns. Much like Episode 6, this video will cover two very similar weapons in the Fallout universe. While several types of combat shotguns have appeared in every Fallout game, we're specifically going to be talking about the ones that are featured in Fallout 3, Fallout 4, and Fallout 76. The two combat shotguns are extremely similar, and one could argue they might be different artist renditions of the same weapon. However, I'm going to treat them as two individual weapons, as there are several design choices that are very different between the two. The first combat shotgun we're going to cover is the one featured in just Fallout 3. The Fallout 3 combat shotgun is found all over the capital Wasteland, used by nearly everyone. You can find it on ordinary Wastelanders, raiders, and even high-profile mercenaries will be wielding this weapon. Its prevalence means that this shotgun had to be in mass production on a large scale, at least to some degree. Now, like most weapons in the Fallout universe, we're not sure what company made the weapons, as Bethesda doesn't usually list that. And trying to narrow it down to a real-life company that would be in the Fallout universe would be ludicrous, as there are hundreds of shotgun manufacturers. Something we do know about this version of the combat shotgun is that it was adopted by the US military in some capacity. In Operation Anchorage simulation, we can see US soldiers being issued this version of the combat shotgun. However, this combat shotgun is not found in the Mojave Wasteland, which does bring up several questions. If it was adopted by the military, why is it only in selective places? We don't find it, like I said, in the Mojave Wasteland, and we don't find it in the Commonwealth. We also don't find it in Appalachia. We only find it in Alaska, or the Northwest Commonwealth, and the Capital Wasteland. Now, because we find many different types of combat shotguns in every Fallout game, it could be that each of the individual Commonwealths had their own specifications for what they wanted in a combat shotgun. Much like how in our timeline, in the early 1900s, the New York National Guard had a trial to replace their old trapdoor Springfields with a new lever action, but they ultimately didn't due to some weird corruption things. So, the design of the weapon. Well, it's a close-quarters, rapid-fire shotgun. The design of the weapon is extremely strange and confusing. At first glance, it might not seem that way, but there are several weird features on it that don't make any sense. At least at first glance. One is the placement of the magazine. It is extremely far forward compared to where the receiver is. The receiver is where you put your hand, versus where the magazine is, which is almost at the end of the gun. Now, how rounds are fed into the chamber from the magazine is a mystery, but I'm going to attempt to explain how I think it works. It works by having a piston in the front of the gun under the barrel in that tube. The piston, upon firing, the gases from the chamber will go down the barrel with the bullet. Piston will activate, pushing the round back through the gun onto a lifter, like a lever action style lifter, and bring that into the chamber. Then the bolt closes and you repeat. This is an extremely complex mechanism if this is how it works, and that's the only way I can see how this would work. Now, in real life, we do have several weapons that kind of do the opposite of this, where they feed from the magazine in the back and eject out the front. Both of them are bullpups. One is the FN-F2000, the other is the Keltec RFB. The closest examples of real-life weapons I can find that feed from a magazine that is far away from the receiver in some way are the Evans repeating rifle, which uses a type of Archimedes screw to bring rounds from the back of the gun up into the chamber. There's also this extremely strange Soviet prototype assault rifle, which is probably the closest example of a real-life weapon to how this combat shotgun might work. It is the TKB 022PM, but you can go look this assault rifle up. It's crazy looking. Now, that's the first quirk, is how it feeds. The other design choices that don't make sense is the bolt. If you look at the bolt at the back of the receiver, there's no room for it to go backwards. It's exactly at the back. So, my only guess is that it actually goes down into the stock, like at a weird angle. Another problem is that the gun actually has no charging handle. Pretty much every single semi-automatic shotgun has a charging handle. Even the Spaz 12, which can switch between semi and pump action, still has a charging handle on the bolt. And if you look at the animation of the character reloading this combat shotgun, he just kind of slides his or her finger along the front of the gun. There is actually a semi-automatic shotgun that does not have a charging handle in real life. This is the Winchester 1911 self-loading shotgun, also called the Widowmaker. It's a semi-automatic shotgun with no charging handle, like I said. Winchester actually couldn't put a charging handle on this weapon, as at the time, charging handles were a patent from John Browning for a shotgun that he sold to Remington. So instead, how you load the Winchester 1911 Widowmaker is that they put knurling, like this real rough spot on the barrel, and you're supposed to pull the barrel backward, and that's how you charge the weapon. It's actually extremely dangerous to do this, because what most people would do, they would put the shotgun on the ground, facing upwards, and push downward, which would cause a round to go off, killing them. And that's why it's called the Widowmaker. I'll have a video down below of how the weapon actually works. It wouldn't make sense for the combat shotgun to be long recoil, because it also has a gas tube at the bottom. So I'm guessing that the modeler just forgot to put a charging handle on it, and the animator had to figure out how to charge it, so he just had the character slide his finger on the side. That covers the Fallout 3 version. We're now going to go on to the Fallout 4/76 combat shotgun. This version of the combat shotgun shares 90% of its design elements with the combat rifle, much like many of the new AR-style shotguns. Now, unlike the Fallout 3 version, we can easily see how to operate this weapon. There's a tube under the barrel, meaning that it's most likely a gas piston system. You can see that the magazine goes directly into the mag well underneath the receiver. The charging handle is clearly on the left side of the gun, nice and big, easy to grab. Now this version, unlike the Fallout 3 combat shotgun, can be made full auto. The gun overall is extremely customizable, being able to use drum or stick mags, different sights, glow sights, barrel lengths, muzzle attachments, wooden or composite style tactical stocks. Pre-war, it was used by both civilians, private security, and law enforcement. At no point do we see the military use this version of the combat shotgun. We don't see any of the pre-war soldiers equipped with it in the Fallout 4 pre-war section. No, in Appalachia, we find this gun a lot. Mole miners make heavy use of the combat shotgun, as well as being able to be found on the scorched civilians. So, while select National Guard units might have adopted the Fallout 3 style combat shotgun, the Fallout 4 style was heavily sold on the commercial market and to police and security forces, companies, stuff like that. Now, one reason that the National Guard and military units would have went with the Fallout 3 version is that the Fallout 3 version might be an older design than the Fallout 4 one. So the military, instead of replacing the combat shotgun because energy weapons were in the way, they probably didn't think they needed to replace it, and it just sat in inventory. Now, for unique shotguns, there are 2 for the Fallout 3 version and 2 for the Fallout 4 version. In Fallout 3, there is the Terrible Shotgun, a higher damage, higher spread version of the combat shotgun. This is acquired by killing the Raider Trader, Smiling Jack. Then there's Sharon's combat shotgun. However, this isn't actually meant to be used by the player. It's just meant to be used by the large ghoul bodyguard Sharon. So it's not actually a unique one because you're not meant to use it. However, it is there in the files. In Fallout 4, like I said, there are 2 unique combat shotguns. There is Le Fusil Terribles, sorry for butchering the French language, and Justice. Le Fusil Terribles, which is French for the terrible gun, is acquired from Libertalia, the raider settlement. The Fusil Terribles has plus 25 limb damage, but the downside of having a lot more recoil. Justice is acquired by just buying it from Penny in Covenant. Justice has an increased stagger chance. There is no unique combat shotgun in Fallout 76 at the time of making this video. Now for the real-life inspirations for the combat shotgun. The Fallout 3 combat shotgun is clearly based on the Soviet PPSH submachine gun. Nearly every aspect of the gun is taken from this SMG and then enlarged to be a 12-gauge shotgun. And there's also a little Picatinny or Weaver rail right behind the sights. This is never used in Fallout 3, so it's kind of just an aesthetic thing. Now, the Fallout 4 combat shotgun has multiple sources of inspiration, much like other weapons in the Fallout universe. Its stock is again taken from the PPSH. The stick magazine, however, is taken from the M1918 bar. The barrel shroud looks like it's taken from the Finnish Suomi SMG. The magwell is taken from the Swiss prototype MP46 and then, enlarged. We also have some custom fantasy parts all wrapped up to make the Fallout 4 combat shotgun. Now, both versions of the combat shotgun are great close quarters weapons to use in either Fallout 3, Fallout 4, or 76, depending on what you're playing, offering more firepower over the other shotguns in the game. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe to this channel for more weapon lore videos, or you can subscribe to my main channel as well, Trooper Fofo, where I make just random gaming content.